Welcome, everyone. Today, we bring you another chilling true crime story. One that is real, disturbing, and impossible to forget. Every detail matters, and every moment leads closer to the truth. So stay connected with us till the end, because this story will change the way you see crime forever. There are some criminal cases that don't just make headlines. They make parents everywhere stop and hug their children a little tighter. This is one of those cases. The story centers around an Oregon father whose actions turned an ordinary childhood sleepover into a nightmare that still haunts multiple families. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angit Levy. Today, we revisit a disturbing case involving Michael Maiden, a man who admitted to secretly drugging young girls during a sleepover hosted at his own home. Though Maiden is already serving time in prison, a major civil legal battle connected to the case has now come to an end, and that development raises serious questions about justice, accountability, and healing. Michael Maiden was living what appeared to be a successful and comfortable life. He worked as an architect and resided in a high-value home in a quiet Oregon neighborhood. To the outside world, he looked like a devoted father. But behind closed doors, prosecutors say, he was orchestrating something deeply disturbing. In the summer of 2023, Maiden organized a sleepover for his daughter and several of her close friends. The girls were all around 12 years old. Parents trusted Maiden because he was a fellow parent, someone who seemed attentive, involved, and responsible. But that trust would soon be shattered. According to court records, Maiden carefully planned the entire evening. He took the girls out for activities meant to make them feel comfortable and excited. He paid for food, entertainment, and treats. Nothing about the night appeared unusual at first. What no one knew at the time was that this carefully planned evening would later be described by investigators as a form of grooming behavior. The activities weren't random. They were part of a larger pattern that would only become clear after one brave child listened to her instincts and asked for help. By the end of that night, several girls would be rushed to the hospital. Police would launch a criminal investigation. Toxicology tests would reveal something no parent ever expects to hear. And Michael Maiden would be arrested, charged, and eventually sentenced. But the legal consequences didn't end with a prison sentence. Months later, the family of one of the victims would take action in civil court, filing a multi-million-dollar lawsuit that forced another chapter of accountability. That lawsuit is now resolved. To understand why this case continues to resonate, and why its impact may last a lifetime, we must go back to the beginning and examine exactly what happened inside that home. On the surface, the sleepover seemed harmless. A group of middle school girls spending the night together, laughing, watching movies, and enjoying snacks. Something many families have experienced countless times. But investigators later learned that Michael Maiden tightly controlled the evening's events. After returning home from earlier activities, Maiden prepared mango smoothies for the girls. Each drink had a different colored straw, something that initially seemed playful. But according to a search warrant affidavit, Maiden insisted that each girl finish her entire smoothie. At least one of the girls immediately felt uneasy. She later told investigators that something didn't feel right. Her body felt heavy. Her thoughts were cloudy. As the girls tried to settle in for the night, she noticed Maiden repeatedly coming downstairs where they were sleeping. At one point, she said, he physically moved her arm away from a friend she was cuddling with. On another occasion, he placed a finger beneath her nose, seemingly checking to see if she was asleep. These moments triggered alarm bells in her mind. Trusting her instincts, the girl quietly texted her mother. Her message was urgent and heartbreaking. She begged to be picked up, asking her mother to pretend there was a family emergency. She said she didn't feel safe. She feared she might not be able to respond again. Thankfully, her mother acted immediately. The girls were removed from the home and taken for medical evaluation. What doctors would later discover turned the case from disturbing to terrifying. Toxicology tests revealed that the girls had been exposed to a prescription sedative commonly used to treat insomnia in adults. The drug can suppress breathing and cause extreme sedation, especially dangerous for children. Medical experts later explained that giving such a substance to minors, without knowing their medical histories or potential interactions, could have resulted in coma or death. The girls survived. But the emotional damage was already done. The drug found in the girls' systems was temazepam, a benzodiazepine rarely prescribed to children. Medical professionals described its effects as deeply concerning, especially given the girls' ages and body weights. A retired FBI toxicologist later explained that administering an adult-level sedative to children without medical supervision is extremely dangerous. Even a small miscalculation could have caused respiratory failure. What troubled experts most was the unknown intent. Why would a grown man drug children in his care? Was it an attempt to control them, to silence them, to incapacitate them? Authorities could not definitively prove what Maiden planned next, only that what he had already done put young lives at serious risk. Investigators also noted patterns of behavior that suggested planning. The structured evening, the insistence that the girls finish their drinks, the repeated checks to see whether they were unconscious. The case quickly gained national attention, not only because of the crime itself, but because of how easily it could have ended in tragedy. Parents across the country were left asking the same question: how do you ever fully trust again? In June 2024, Michael Maiden stood before a judge and admitted his role in the crime. He was sentenced to 24 months in prison. For many, the sentence felt shockingly light. During sentencing, several of the girls addressed the court. One survivor described how the experience changed her forever. She spoke about fear, confusion, and the lasting impact on her sense of safety. She revealed that Maiden had made inappropriate comments in the past and had encouraged frequent sleepovers. Hearing this, families began to wonder whether this incident was truly isolated, or simply the first time he was caught. Another mother spoke directly to Maiden, telling him that his plea deal was not mercy earned, but luck granted. She reminded the court that her child could have died. The courtroom was filled with anger, grief, and disbelief. Maiden, for his part, denied having any harmful intentions. He claimed he only wanted the girls to sleep safely and remain inside the home. The judge did not accept that explanation. Still, the sentence stood. Months after the criminal case concluded, the father of one of the victims filed a civil lawsuit seeking $2.44 million in damages. The suit named both Michael Maiden and his wife, alleging negligence and emotional harm. The lawsuit focused on long-term trauma, medical expenses, and the lasting psychological effects on the child. Civil cases like this are often about more than money. They are about accountability, about acknowledgement, about giving victims a voice when criminal penalties feel insufficient. In late December, court records revealed that the lawsuit had been resolved. A notice was filed indicating the case had been settled. The settlement amount was not made public, and likely never will be. But the resolution raised new questions. Did the family find closure? Did the settlement bring relief? Or did it simply close a legal chapter while the emotional story continues? Mental health experts explain that drug-facilitated crimes leave unique scars. Victims often struggle with loss of control, memory gaps, and fear of vulnerability. For children, the trauma can resurface repeatedly as they grow older and gain new understanding of what happened to them. Survivors may develop anxiety around sleep, food, medical care, or relationships. Some struggle with trust for years, even decades. Experts emphasize that healing is not linear. It happens slowly, in layers, and often requires long-term support. The girls in this case were not just victims of a crime. They were victims of betrayal. 6. There is another child affected by this case, Michael Maiden's own daughter. Her friends were the victims. Her home was the crime scene. Her father was the perpetrator. Experts say children in this position often experience shame, isolation, and misplaced blame from peers. They may struggle with identity and trust in ways that last into adulthood. She did nothing wrong, yet her life was forever altered. Michael Maiden is expected to be released from prison in 2026. For the victims and their families, that date looms large. The legal system has done what it can, but many believe it wasn't enough. This case serves as a reminder. Listen to instincts, talk to children, and never assume danger looks obvious. Sometimes, it hides behind a smile and a smoothie. That's it for this chapter of Crime Fix.